Well, today we have Sharon Carne as our speaker, and she's going to do our meditation for us today. And you can see that she is a sound, I won't say healer, she's a sound alchemist, I would say. Sharon is going to be speaking about a new look at surrender and command. On this presentation, she says it's an invitation to contemplate the meaning of these two words, surrender and command, in a new way from a different perspective, perhaps, than you have done before. For thousands of years, surrender has been seen by many as not enough, loss of power, giving up, yielding, and weak. And command has been seen as more than enough, power, control, dominating, and strong. So Sharon asked the question, what does it mean to claim surrender and command as a sacred being? Sharon is an author, an international speaker, musician, recording artist, sound healer, and consultant. She is the founder of Sound Wellness, the Sound Wellness Institute, and more recently, co-founder of the Emergent Workforce, the most recent expansion of offerings through the Sound Wellness Institute. Sound wellness programs are at the forefront of education and how sound and music can be easily applied to your everyday life to reduce stress, help you concentrate, energize you, inspire you, and support your health. And so I, for one, am really looking forward to hearing what Sharon has to say on this whole topic, and then what we get to receive through the voice of her bowl. So please help me welcome Sharon.
When I received the request to come and share again at Unity and saw the theme, the first thing that came into my mind were the words surrender and command. And so I jotted that down and jotted down some thoughts and just kind of kept a sheet of paper handy to continue to jot down some thoughts about it. And so as the time went by, it came time to sit down and actually put my thoughts together, and they kind of came out in written form. So I wanted to share with you some of the ways that surrender and command has been part of my journey for a while now, and maybe remind the similar stories in your journey that may give different perspective or affirm a perspective that you have on these words, surrender and command, and how they integrate in our spiritual being. So thank you again for Unity. I'm so delighted to be back here and really to be part of this community again for today. So I wanted to and I'm sure many of you have experienced 3 to 4 people coming up to you and saying, have you ever read this? And I've had this happen many, many times. And many years ago, I had people say, Sharon, have you read A Course in Miracles? And I kept saying, no. And after the 4th person in 1 week said, Sharon, have you read A Course in Miracles? I thought, okay, time to listen to this. This is 4 in 1 week. So I went to the store and bought A Course in Miracles, and was absolutely fascinated. This was over 20 years ago. And I bought the book and spent the next year going through every single day's affirmations on my daily walks and the contemplation throughout the day. I thought, well, since this had been such a powerful recommendation by so many people, then maybe I should take it seriously and really step into a practice. So I did this for a year, because the book takes you through a year's worth of meditations and contemplations. And at the end of that year, I felt like everything had changed for me. That my energy was different, my approach to life was different. And I remember at the end of that year, standing on top of one of the big hills in our neighborhood, staring to the east and claiming to the university, proclaiming to the universe that I promise that I will walk the journey my soul wants to walk in this lifetime. I promise that. And whenever you make a declaration like that to the universe, boy, do you get lessons. And an acceleration of lessons. So that was fascinating. And it's so interesting how these two words of surrender and command were part of that ongoing journey of, I promise. So one of the ways this showed up was, gosh, when I think back, probably about 15 years at least ago, I was part of a shamanic community here in Calgary, and this was my 3rd year of training, and this was a special ceremony. And this one meant a lot to me because it was a next level of my promise, because the goal of this ceremony, it was called ancestor speaking, and the purpose was to declare my commitment to all of my ancestors that I will dance to my highest level in this lifetime. There's my promise right there. And so this ceremony was a little scary, but my soul had brought me to this program in a powerful way. So I thought, okay, I'm going to walk this ceremony and just be present to what happens. And I hadn't really realized that this would take me to a whole new level of this soul walk and journey in this lifetime to walk the path of my soul. So we were instructed to take our materials out in the middle of the night and create a medicine wheel. And we were instructed to stand in the center of the medicine wheel. And for each direction of the medicine wheel, we were to invite either those ancestors who did not love me, and or those ancestors who did love me. The ancestors who did love me, who showed up, I was to ask them if they would speak to me or speak for me on the other side for the gifting of my sacred name from the ancestors directly. So I started my ceremony, and facing the first direction, then it was interesting. The first one who appeared in front of me, and this is, the ancestors appear just outside of the circle. I stand in the center of the circle, and this first ancestor was one who did not love me. And part of the goal here is to clear karma and create forgiveness for those who appear and who you might have hurt in another lifetime. So this being showed up in front of me, and it was more of a light actually, and I asked for understanding. And what happened was something I had never experienced before. I was absolutely flooded with hurt, I was flooded with pain, and I was flooded with grief. And tears just started. And despair, heartbreak, all of these things, my whole being was flooded with these emotions. And so I experienced in a very visceral way the emotions that I had created in this person during another lifetime. So with tears streaming down my face, I asked for forgiveness and kept asking for forgiveness as I stood in that feeling of what I had created in that person and received the forgiveness. And then this energy in front of me turned into this glowing light, sparkly light, and then just went on its way. And I thought, wow, this is the first experience in this ceremony. This is going to be some big lessons today. So I worked my way all around the circle, and I did find a few others that I needed to ask forgiveness for. And I also found some ancestors and some ancient teachers from other lifetimes of mine that agreed to speak for me on the other side. So I completed my ceremony, packed up my things, and went back for a debrief with my teacher in the middle of the night. And she said, this is the journey of surrender and command. Welcome. And so years ago, that was planted in my awareness. And usually, I don't know what your journey is like. When a new concept gets planted into my awareness, I forget about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, off it comes again. And oh, okay, that's what that was all about. Because I was so present in the ceremony, I hadn't really considered that that's what this was about. It was just being present and surrendering to what was going on, but also commanding elements to come forth as I worked my way around the circle. So it was the most incredible experience. And as I contemplated this in writing down some thoughts and ideas, what I discovered looking back is that surrender and command is a daily spiritual practice, like mindfulness, like many of these other things. When we declare to the universe that we really want to walk our soul's purpose, then these things become a daily practice as your capacity and your awareness expands. So the old definitions of surrender and command, surrender in a third dimensional reality means to give up. And there are always moments when some of us, and some of this is part of practice. At what level and what dimension am I giving up? And what am I maintaining command over? It's so fascinating how these two words and these two energies flow in and out of your experience. So my question then became, instead of surrender, command, and control and all that third dimensional area, how do we bring this into a higher spiritual level in a spiritual walk? So how do we transform the energy in the third dimension of surrender and command into a deeper spiritual significance? So I brought out my old book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, with Paramahansa Yogananda, and he taught that spiritual surrender means offering of one's will to God, and that this is an active surrender to the will of God. So then I thought, will, okay. I grabbed my book by Carolyn Mace on the anatomy of the spirit and went to the throat chakra chapter, because this is the chakra all about personal will and divine will. So I reread that chapter again, and I wanted to share with you one of the things she says about the symbolic level of will and the throat chakra. She said, the symbolic challenge of the willpower chakra or throat chakra is to progress through the maturation of will from the tribal perception that everyone and everything around you has authority over you, that's root chakra, through the perception that you alone have authority over you, that's third chakra, and that to the final perception that true authority comes from aligning yourself to God's will. And then I thought, that's interesting, because she also says the throat chakra is about choice and consequences. And the choice and consequences fits very much into the command aspect of the practice of the surrender and command dance, when you step into that divine level of manifesting with surrender and command. And here too, I learned the energetic consequences about my choices and even my thoughts when I experienced in my physical being the emotions that first ancestor gave me in that ceremony. So a lot of my journey has been here too, taking responsibility for my thoughts, challenging my thoughts when I think that there's something that doesn't really feel in alignment, I challenge it. And also to listen to the thoughts, to find out, where is my being at this moment? And then to start to take responsibility for them, because our thoughts create a reality in a certain way. We have an exercise in our second program in Sound Wellness, and it's called the wall. And what we do, this is an exercise in creating a physical reality with thought energy. So we spend 10 minutes feeling bricks, looking at the tape on the floor that says how long the wall is, how wide the wall is, how high the wall is. And then we focus our thought and intention for 5 minutes on that space to create a wall made out of these bricks everybody's holding. And then we add sound to it to deepen the manifestation using the thought and sound energy, 10 minutes. And we create a form out of thought that you can feel with your hands. We use the dowsing rods. The dowsing rods tell us exactly where the wall starts. The dowsing rod changes, and as we push the dowsing rods through the wall, they show us exactly the other side of the wall as they go through the wall. People walk through the wall and feel the density of the thought form. 10 minutes created something that could be felt by the physical body. So it's a powerful understanding that my thoughts can, with powerful focused thought, create physical reality in a way that we don't usually contemplate or think about. So I offer those ideas as a way to contemplate your thoughts and maybe ask the question, what kinds of reality or energies am I creating with my thoughts? And what kind of form are they creating? So, and I want to return for a moment to the dance between personal will and divine will and how that can show up. And it's those times when you're feeling stuck. When I was writing the last piece for my Cool on My Skin CD, the whole thing felt like it was a divine flow. I would meditate on a poem and the music would just be there. It would be written in half an hour and it was done. And the last piece though, I had the poem and meditate on the poem and 2 chords on the guitar appeared immediately. And then I thought maybe I should put a melody on top of those 2 chords. Well, I filled up at least 2 garbage cans with manuscript paper of melodies that get about 4 measures and no, that is not working. So it was interesting. In total frustration after those 2 weeks, I gathered some friends of mine, bribed them with some wine and cheese and snacks, and played through the whole CD. And when I got to the last piece, I said, I'm so frustrated with this, because it's meant to balance all the chakras. Here's the chords, here's the notes, and I'm just going to play it the way I first wrote it. So I played it, and then the first comment I got from everybody at the end, she said, Sharon, it's a meditation. It's not supposed to have a melody. So that for me was that personal will going, this has been divine all the way through, maybe it should do this. So my own personal will is going, no, don't interfere with that. Surrender to the divine will. The command is the actual creation, the physical creation of it, and allowing that to flow. So that was a huge lesson for me in that dance between our personal will and the divine will, and how do we tell if we're in alignment with that? And I wanted to just share one thing that is my favorite way of checking and allowing for divine will to enter my life. In my field of infinite possibility, or as Deepak Chopra says, the infinite potentiality, the field of infinite potentiality, there's a door in my field. I usually feel it up here that's cracked open a little bit. And that's the door through which things I would never imagine come through as opportunities and give me a chance to say yes or no. That's me, that's my throat chakra, and my divine will saying, or my alignment with the opportunity that comes to say, that's a cool idea. I could actually do that. I could do this and this and this and actually create that. In fact, Sound Wellness Institute, and the Emergent Workforce all came through that door and allowed me, I never would have imagined I'd be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't said, that's interesting. I can actually do that. And sometimes they come as a phone call from out of the blue. Sometimes it's somebody who just mentions something at breakfast and I think, that just came through the door, cool. So for me to check with that's a wonderful way of having a place in your awareness that allows that divine possibility to enter into your space and your personal will and connection with divine will to surrender to, oh, that's an interesting possibility, never would have thought of that. And the command part is I can do that. So they come together, they merge. And here we become enough and more than enough because we're in alignment with that divine will. And that is a daily practice. We have these all day long, every day, every decision we make is a journey with this. So I invite you to explore your own day-to-day life and how that shows up with you. I would like to end my talk with some words that appeared in the middle of the night, about 10 years ago, when the night before I was teaching some toning at an event in BC, and I woke up about 2 or 3 o'clock and these words would not get out of my mind. So I got out of bed, wrote them all down, and then got back to sleep. And then I shared these words with the group the next morning, and it was exactly what they needed to hear. And I'd like to, every once in a while, I still share them, and they asked to be shared again today. So here is what those words were that came in the middle of the night. Sound is the energy of creation. We are given the energy of creation itself, our voice. And we are given the power of creation, our thought and our intention. Every single one of us has this gift. At the beginning of our earliest civilizations, sound and language was considered sacred because when we speak or sing, we send into the world the energy of creation itself. We've forgotten this. Sound and language is still sacred. What has changed is how we create with it. We cannot stop being creators, it's who we are. We can choose to create consciously or unconsciously. So I'd like to move into the meditation now.